Okay, so gonna do another quality versus quantity video here, and I don't want to make a habit of doing too many of these in a row, but at the moment I am testing on a version that isn't actually released yet, so for the time being I probably won't be able to do any battles, at least not the next couple of days, and I did want to release something, and the top 10s do take a little bit longer to collate the data as such. So, I did have a request, and oh my god, that frame rate. I did have a request, and we're going to do the Sons of the Fallen of the Dwarves. Oh my god, the frame rate is pretty poor indeed. I don't know why. Hopefully it'll settle down. But yes, the Sons of the Fallen, there was a request to do these guys. Of course, as dwarves they are very, very sturdy, and as spears they are focused almost entirely around defense. I said before that I don't think spears are going to be the best of the best when it comes to doing this sort of thing. The Shielded Fountain Guard sort of showed that, but the Sons of the Fallen may well do slightly better because they do have better stats, so we'll see. I'm not sure if I expect these guys to win or not. I don't think their attack or their stats are high enough for them to win. My god, what is going on with the frame rate lately? I don't know whether it's the rain or what, but something isn't right. Oof, this needs to settle down quickly. I think we'll just go a little bit further away for the time being. The Sons of the Fallen, though, very sturdy spear unit indeed. I would expect them to keep their unit models for quite a long time, but I don't think that they'll kill quickly enough, and I think eventually that will tell. But we will see. I'm pretty sure these guys will do better than the Falas Lords, but I'm not sure they'll make it onto the list. And if they do, then it really does prove that the Dwarven mass is kind of overpowered, because the Falas Lords were not able to make it onto the list by a long shot, neither would the Shielded Fountain Guard, and these guys are honestly not that much better. In fact, in terms of stats, they're probably worse than the Falas Lords. So, we'll see how this goes after a couple more waves. I want to make these a little bit more snappy as well. 20 minutes of video on these is a bit long. So, we'll see what's going on with them in a couple of waves' time. So, 3 more waves in, and we still have not lost a single dwarf, and this is starting to say to me that the dwarves may just be the best at this sort of thing, because the Sons of the Fallen stand a pretty good chance of getting through the whole lot if they haven't lost a single unit model yet, and some of them haven't even been scraped, so there is that. But then this also does raise the question that I have been told previously that the Gondorians are meant to be the closest thing the human factions have to the dwarves with heavy infantry, and yet they're nowhere near good enough to be considered that. Like, if they're going to be considered like the human version of the dwarves, they don't need to be as good on foot, obviously, because the dwarves are always going to have the heavy infantry advantage, but they need to be made better, because the Shielded Fountain Guard were already losing a significant number of unit models against trash like Orc Fodder already. Okay, so just past the halfway point, and we have lost quite a few unit models now, around 14 I believe, or 15. Yeah, 15 because of the General. The General did die as well, but that's not going to be a problem for the Dwarves. They'll stay in combat for as long as they need to. It's not a terminal amount. They could still squeak out a victory, and I think it's an almost sure thing that they're going to be in the top 5 at this point. Now, I must say that armour isn't the be-all and end-all. I think in this situation it really does help to an extreme degree, because the Orc Fodder just can't pierce the Dwarf armour. But armor-piercing weapons will do a good job against the dwarves, but it is worth saying if you don't bring armor-piercing against the dwarves, you are screwed. At least against their high-tier infantry, but even their lower-tier infantry, honestly, has got very thick armor as well. And again, I do repeat what I said before, any faction that relies on their infantry, at least their defensive infantry, like Gondor, Umbar maybe not so much, because they're a little bit more focused around their offensive infantry, but certainly Gondor, maybe a few others as well, like, I don't know if Arnor could count for that as well. I mean, Arnor are a little bit more all-purpose. But those factions need to have their infantry made a little bit better so they can keep up with the dwarves, because honestly they're still so dominant in the infantry game that you could argue that that's right, but when other factions are focused on the same sort of thing, they need to be made better to be viable. But in this situation I do think it does skew it a little bit in the Orcs' favour. I haven't done spears as of yet, but I can almost certainly see that the Sons of the Fallen will probably be the best spears by a considerable margin, and I think that's a bit unfair to the Falas Lords as well. I think maybe they should be the best spear unit, and yet, in terms of dealing with trash like this, obviously they weren't. In Shield Wall it's a little bit more arguable, but I would say that the Dwarven Armour makes it so that even in Shield Wall, the Sons of the Fallen will be considerably better than the Falas Lords and the Shielded Fountain Guard, the two closest contenders, I would say. to the best spears, but even so, I mean, dwarf dominance at its finest. Anyway, I think we'll go to the 3/4 point, or if the dwarves start to fall away before then, I will bring it back in. So the Sons of the Fallen just made it to the halfway point of their unit, so 32, so they're not going to beat the Dale Paladins, but the more that this goes on, the more that I'm convinced this is more of a test of who's got the thickest armour than anything else. I mean, the Dalian Paladins managed to pull out a victory over the Orc Fodder Horde, and the Blackback Berserkers did not, in my opinion, a better shock unit than the Dalian Paladins, so very much against the lower tier units your heavy armour is going to save you, although there is a case for having some attack as well. I mean, the Elder Palace Guard and the Blackback Berserkers both did very well despite not being focused around survivability overall. But it does look like the Sons of the Fallen could well pull it out here. I mean, it's going to be close because, you know, 30 left, clearly their hit points are being expended. It is going to be close, but the fact that a spear unit like this with not particularly high stats can manage to get through whereas other units can't is perhaps a little bit strange. Like a spear unit being victorious, are you sure? I don't know. I mean, clearly the armour is really helping them here, but I'm not sure really. Not sure where I would put the balance of the dwarves in relation to the other factions. I think if the dwarves are going to stay as they are, certainly other factions need to be changed accordingly. But, oh, just in time for the next wave. But yes, I think now we will skip ahead to potentially the last 3 waves, and if not, then I will bring us back in whenever it's clear that the Sons of the Fallen are starting to fall by the wayside. There's no way these 2 Sons of the Fallen are going to be able to force another wave out, is there? Shaken and exhausted, this unit of Orc Fodder. Sons of the Fallen are still eager, even though there's only 2 of them. They're still mulching their way through. This is unreal. They're not even being... Well, there goes another one. Did he get 2 on 1? No, he didn't. He just knocked one over. They're not even being stun-locked at this point. They really are just hanging on in there. This one over here is under a little bit of pressure. Although he's getting another kill, so I mean... Another 2 kills. They really are eking out their existence here, which is what spears should be good at, to be fair, but managing to get that many kills, well, certainly impressive to say the least. They're still both alive. Getting poked over and over again by this one Orc Fodder here. Oh, there goes another kill for him. They need 15 more to force the next wave. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. There are so many Orc Fodders. Most of them seem to be focused on this one over here. This guy seems to be having a bit more of an easy time of it. Still getting kills though, consistently. This is unreal. Come on, Orc Fodder, what the hell are you doing? Gotta speed this up. My god, they're still both alive. I think. Yeah, they are. Both of them still alive. They're going to be able to force another wave. Unbelievable. So they came within 1 wave of, well, I assume anyway, unless both of them die right now. They may well come within 1 wave of the General's wave. 71. Still eager. Shaken and exhausted Orc Fodder. Yep, that's it. The penultimate wave deployed. Impressive. But now I think it's time we speed it up until they're doomed, because they're not going to be able to make it all the way through these 2 to the General. Unless there's some sort of hacks involved. Well, he died, so it's just this one over here, and he died. 2,933. Well, there you have it. Better than the Smiths of Eregion at this sort of thing. Pretty impressive, but also questionable in terms of what the balance is actually doing. I still think maybe this shows that armor is a little bit too strong, and that armor-piercing weapons are still kind of too important. I don't know whether I should say that, considering it's the dwarves, but I don't know. I think something's up at the very least. But I can't really put my finger on what. But yes, the Sons of the Fallen, as close to victory as you could possibly get without achieving it. And that puts them in third. So, impressive by the dwarves. And I think tomorrow will probably be another one of these videos, depending on when the patch releases. It depends. Again, like, primarily this is going to be about testing, more so, over the more recent future. And battles will come after that, I think. So, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this gave you the same insight that it did to me, in that armor is still very much a very, very important factor, and I hope to see you next time.